Hey, what's going on YouTube? I'm Dakota J, and welcome to my new channel with my very first long-form video. This is actually my second time recording this video because the first time it was just insanely out of focus. So I'm gonna try to be a little more concise this time. This video won't be super long, but I am going to break it up into chapters. So if you get bored and you wanna skip around, it's gonna be conveniently labeled for you to do that. So as you can probably tell from the title, today's video is about the brand new, awesome, fucking rad Onyx 80v. And I got to ride it around LA for a couple hours, and I just want to share some of my experience with you. So let's get into it. All right, so first of all, as kind of a disclaimer, I am not going to be getting super into the specs of this bike. There are tons of other videos that do a really good job of it. So if you just search, Onyx 80v RCR on YouTube, you'll find plenty of videos that will go into a little more of a deep dive of specs. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna give you an overall, experience of what it was like to ride the bike and some things I found really awesome about the new upgraded version. So before getting into riding footage and stuff like that, I just wanted to give you a quick history of, my interest in Onyx. I learned about them in 2020 and I emailed them just asking if I could borrow a bike for my YouTube channel. And they were like, yeah, come pick it up and just bring it back in a week, because I actually live in Vegas. And it just didn't end up working out, which sucked. But recently I got to go to LA for work. So I messaged him and I was just like, hey, is there any outlet where I could rent, one of these bikes so I could give it a good tryout and just have fun with it? And he was like, well, actually just come down to the shop. We do test rides. So it's really easy. You just go on their website, you select a day and time, and you upload your license and you can go test ride the 72 volts or the 80 volts. And I didn't actually know you were gonna be able to ride the 80 volt. So I was, pretty surprised at that, and I thought that was really awesome. Unfortunately, what ended up happening is we went on a ride and we got a little bit away from the shop, and Aria's bike, the battery was low and we had to turn around and come back. So it was a shorter ride, and he apologized, whatever, I didn't care, it was not a big deal. And he was like, are you in town longer? Come back, ride it for longer. I'll take you on a longer ride. So I was like, yeah, I'm here for another week and a half. So that's what I did. And I made the short video from testing out those two bikes that day. And I tagged Onyx, and Aria ended up, following me and sending me a message on Instagram, letting me know that we could go on a longer ride. Just let me know what day and time works. So on Thursday, after I was done with my video production job, I ended up going back to the shop. And we went on this super awesome 2-hour ride through LA, through the Hollywood Reservoir, through all these hills right by the Hollywood sign. And I got some really cool footage from my glasses and also from, my camera that I had on me. And it honestly reminded me of when I first got my CB750 and how free I felt and how awesome it felt to just ride around and enjoy having a conversation with somebody in your helmet, or just, focusing on the road and doing 70 miles an hour on this light and super nimble bike. So before I even got there for the test ride, they were actually fitting the bike I was gonna ride with some more dirt style tires, which were way bigger. And I thought that was pretty cool, but didn't know how to expect, what to expect when riding it. But we ended up going through some dirt, and it was really cool because you could feel it just really gripping to the dirt and not slipping out and feeling sketchy at all. So what I'm thinking is when I get the bike, I'll probably just wear the stock tires down to when I need new tires, and then maybe go for something more enduro street dirt style, so I can kind of zip around Vegas and go through the desert as well when I feel like it. Okay, so I said I wasn't really gonna talk about the specs of the bike, but I will talk about, some of the upgrades that I found interesting or really exciting. And one of the first things that really stands out is kind of the stance, I would say. I think it's a little more upright than the 72 volt, which I like because I like being more at an upright position. But also it has this new display that just displays things totally different than the 72 volt. And you can actually hook it up to your iPhone or Android through CarPlay or Android Auto, I think is what it's called. And so you can actually do maps, music, it shows your speed, your voltage, your turn signals, all this information just right at your fingertips. And the screen is actually really bright and visible in direct sunlight, which I was worried about because I live in Vegas. We literally have sun all the time, 360 days a year. So you need to be able to see that display. Another very obviously big upgrade is going to be the battery, which gives you longer range, higher speeds, stuff like that. So not only is the speed good, because you're gonna be able to get out in front of cars if you need to, you can hit speeds that are, you know, recommended in your area. You see mopeds all the time doing like 30 miles an hour in a 45, and that is so dangerous. And this thing easily pulls, you know, 65, 70 miles an hour. So yeah, the battery, you know, is gonna give you longer range, more speed, and less range anxiety, which I find awesome because you can go ride for longer with less downtime and less charging time. And I plan to use this thing as like a commuter just back and forth to work, which is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna save so much money on gas. Another thing I noticed about the 80 volt is it's just ultimately a smoother ride than the 72 volt. I also really appreciate the throttle because on the 72 volt, only part of the grip turns as the throttle, which I found a little uncomfortable. But on the 80 volt, the whole thing, the whole grip is actually a throttle tube too, so it turns and it just feels better. It has better acceleration, smoother acceleration, and ultimately it feels like a better built bike, but that is to be expected. I think what is so cool about these bikes is that, you know, there is so much less to worry about. Like, I've always been into like vintage Hondas, and you'd go for a ride and you never knew what was gonna happen, right? Like, you could have a carb leak or like something just crazy happen where you have to cut the ride short. And with these, it just seems like, you know, you charge it up and you get on it and go, and they're gonna be super reliable for years to come. So I wanted to explain kind of how I financed the bike because I think it's kind of interesting and I think it might help some people out. So originally I wasn't gonna be able to buy this bike anytime soon. So I was kind of thinking about it and I was like, man, after I rode them, I just couldn't, I had to figure out how to buy one. So I remembered that I had like a $3,000 credit line with Klarna, but I didn't know how I was gonna be able to use it with Onyx. So what ended up happening is Klarna that week offered like a one-time purchase of your purchase power using a debit card that they would create, like a virtual debit card. So I was able to actually just split the payment through Klarna and then just pay the rest cash. And it gave me a little more time to pay that off, which I found, you know, I found super helpful because Onyx does offer financing on their website, but I applied for like pretty much all of them. And the only one I got approved for, which was like pay tomorrow, I think, and it was only $750. So I was a little bummed then, but when I figured out this other alternative, I was pretty stoked. And Ivan at Onyx was able to split the payment between the two cards and give me that, you know, little more time to pay it off, because it's not a small purchase. Like, for the average person, it's gonna be tough to pay for something this big. But if you have a little more time, try Klarna and try paying the rest with cash. Like, hopefully that helps you out. So something that's really cool is after I made the short video that's on this channel about Onyx, they offered me an affiliate code. So use the code ONYXDIDTHAT and you'll get $100 off your bike, and I'll actually receive $100 too, so I can pay this bike off a little bit sooner. It's a win-win for everybody. All right, so to wrap it up, thank you so much for watching this video. And if you liked it, you know, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment, a like. It really helps out the channel. And I really appreciate it because this has been about 4 years that I haven't made a video or put anything out on YouTube. So I'm having a lot of fun with it and it's really exciting. So I'd love for you to stick around because I will be making more content on the 80 volt when I receive it. And then also maybe some film and photo stuff, as well as tutorials and maybe some just like day in the life stuff. So I don't know, stick around if you want, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care of yourselves.